ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नश्यप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। जन्मादियस्य यतोऽन्वयात् इतरश्चार्थेष्वभिघ्नस्वराट् तेन ब्रह्महृदयादिकव्ये मुह्यन्ति यः सूर्यः। तेजो वारिमदां यथा विनिमयो यत्रातिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकम् सत्यं परमधीमहि। धर्मोप्रोचितकैतवत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयनमूलनं। श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परिरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरोधते यत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूभिस्तशनात्। प्रायेण अल्पायुष्यसभ्या कलावस्मिन् युगे जनाः मन्दसुमन्दमतयो मन्दभाग्या उपद्रुतः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। मुनयः साधु पृष्ठोऽहं भवद्भिर्लोकमङ्गलं यत्कृतः कृष्णसम्प्रश्नो येन आत्मा सुप्रसीदति स वै पुंसां परो धर्मो यतो भक्तिरधुक्सजे अहितुकीयप्रतिहता ये आत्मा सुप्रसीदति। वासुदेवे भगवती भक्तियोगा प्रयोजितः जनायति आशु वैराग्यं ज्ञानं च यद् अहेतुकं। धर्मः स्वानुस्थितः पुंसां विश्वक्षेणा कथासु या न उत्पादयद् यदि रतिं क्षमा एवा हि केवलम्। धर्मस्य हि अपवर्गस्य नार्थोऽर्थाय उपकल्पते नार्थस्य धर्मकान्तस्य कामो लाभाय हि स्मृताः। कामस्य नेन्द्रिया प्रीतिर्लाभो जीवेत यावता जीवस्य तत्त्वजिज्ञासा नार्थो यश्चेह कर्मभिः। वदन्ति तत्तत्त्वविदस्तत्त्वं यज्ञानमद्वयम् ब्रह्मेति परमात्मेति भगवानिति शब्द्यते। तस्मादेकेन मनसा भगवान् सात्वतां पतिः श्रोतव्यः कीर्तितव्यश्च ध्येयः पूज्यश्च नित्यदा। शुश्रूषुषद्धदानस्य वासुदेवा कथारुचिः स्यान्महस्सेवया विप्रः पुण्यातीतनिषेवनात्। शृण्वतां सुखतः कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदयन्तुस्थियभद्राणि विधुनोति सुरसताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठकी। तदा रजस्तमो भावः कामलोभादयश्च ये चेत एते अनाविद्धं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति। विद्यते हृदयाग्रन्थे छिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशया क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि Drashta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So these were the verses which were part of the first unit. Of course, the first unit, chapter 1 and 2, had most of the verses. So we would add the following verses from chapter 3 to chapter 19, which are around 15 verses more. So it takes only around 10 to 15 minutes to recite it all. Ideally, if we all can recite on a regular basis, every day, just like we chant 16 rounds, when it comes to memorizing shlokas, we need to give it a priority. And best if we can do it in the morning hours, just 15 minutes a day, within a short span of time, it will just get by heart, memorized. The best way to memorize shloka is recitation, recitation, recitation. You don't even have to think about what it is. Just keep reciting, and that's how it gets memorized. And it helps in sharpening the intelligence. Okay, let's go ahead in the remaining verses that we have. Ete cham sakalha pumsaha Krishnastu bhagavan swayam Indrari vyakulam lokam hridayanti yuge yuge Krishne swadhama upagate dharma jnanadibhi saha Kalau nashta drashamesha purana kodunodita Nayat vachaschitra padam harir yashu Jagat pavitram praganita karhichit Tatvaya samtitam nushanti manasa Nayatra hamsa niramanti shikshaya Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo Yasmin prati shlokam nabadavati api Namanyanantasya shankitani yat Shanvanti gayanti grananti sadavaha Tyaktva swadharmam charanambujam harir Bhajan apakvota pate tato yadi Yatra kava bhadram abhad amushyakim Kovata apto abhajata sadharmata Tasyeva hetu prayate ko vidu Na labhyate yad brahmatam upari yadaha Tallabhyate dukhavat anyatha sukham Kalina sarvatra kabhira ramhasa Yasya vaishuryamanayam Krishne paramapurushe Bhaktirutpadyate pumsaha Shoka moha bhayapaha Atmaramas chamanyo nirgranta apirukrame Kuruvanti haitukim bhaktim ittam bhuta guno hari Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namaha Pankajnabhaya Namaha Pankajmaline Namaha Pankajnetraya Namaste Pankajangre Vipadashantuta Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagadguru Bhavato darshanam yasyad apunarbhava darshanam Janmashwarya shuta shribhiredhamana madhapuman Naivarati abhidatum vai tvamakinchana gocharam Tvai me ananya vishayam mate madhupate sakrat Ratam udhvata daddha gangai vogham udanvati Bhavadvida bhagavata stita bhuta swayam vibhu Titi kurvanti tithani swanta sthena gadabrata. All right, this ends. So I believe we have verses here until the 13th chapter. We have not added verses after that. We'll add it. So this is what it is for today for recitation. All right. So welcome everyone for today's discussion from First Canto, 4th chapter, verse number 26 onward. Title as Appearance of Sri Narada. So far in this chapter we saw how Shaunakadi Rishi approached Sutta Goswami and asked him 3 questions. Please tell us the history of Srimad Bhagavatam. After hearing the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, they became very curious to know more about Bhagavatam. Why did Srila Vyasa compiled Srimad Bhagavatam, when he had written the essence of everything in the form of Vedanta Sutra. Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken between Sukdev Goswami and Parishit Maharaj. Of course, it was also spoken between Vyasa, Narada to Vyasa, Vyasa to Sukdev Goswami. So Shaunaka Rishi wanted to also know why would Parishit Maharaj, such a valorous, such a great devotee of the Lord, at a prime age when he had so many years and decades of service opportunity by his side to serve and to maintain God consciousness in his kingdom, at the prime of his age, when everything was going perfect, why would he suddenly renounce? And the second, Sukdev Goswami was such a young boy, 16-year-old boy. How was he recognized? And how did he ended up the place where Parishit Maharaj was sitting? And most importantly, how was he recognized as a great transcendentalist? So now the first question, the history of Srimad Bhagavatam is under discussion. We saw in the last few verses, Srila Vyasadev's birth was described, and that was mentioned that how at one fine day early in the morning at Badrikashram, he got up, took bath, did his Gayatri and everything, he got ready, and he sat in meditation. And in his meditation, he saw the symptoms of Kali Yuga. And he became, out of his great compassion, he became worried for the residents of this Kali Yuga. What will happen to them? Prayin alpayushya sabhya kalavasmin yuge janaha. Similarly, almost in the same sense, Srila Vyasadeva experiences the symptoms of Kali Yuga. Then out of his great compassion, he decided, or you can say being inspired by the Lord within his heart, he decided to put everything in the written format. Otherwise, as the age progresses, we're becoming more poor and weaker in our recollection and remembrance. So then he wrote down the humongous, he did a humongous task. It was not only a scholarly work, but it was not only scholarly, it was not only physical, mental or intellectually exhausting. It was a huge task to pen down, write down everything. And more importantly, he had to divide all of that into 4 Vedas, Yajur, Rig, Sam, Atharva Veda. Then he wrote the histories in the form of Puranas, Skanda Purana, Padma Purana, 5 lakh verses, Skanda Purana never ends. And when you don't know which verse is from where, Skanda Purana is the best bait. Tell that fellow, go and search for it if you need more reference. मिल जाए तो हमें बता देना कौन से chapter का कौन सा श्लोक था. We're talking about the huge task, humongous task Srila Vyasadeva did, which was not only physically, mentally, intellectually exhausting. He put his heart into making Vedic knowledge available for the residents of Kali Yuga, like that. And then he wrote Puranas. We're talking about Puranas. He compiled and wrote all the Puranas. And after doing all that, then he decided, of course, in that we have Itihas also, like Mahabharata, not only Puran. All that he wrote. And then finally he also wrote Vedanta Sutra. So that is what has been described so far. So I just want all of you to get into the feeling of what Vyasadeva is experiencing right now. Imagine, is totally done out of great concern for the citizens, for the well-being of everyone in the society. And you have dedicated, now we may not have experience of Vyasadeva, but we have heard something about Srila Prabhupada, how he wrote commentaries for Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita and whatnot. He would spend sleepless nights, get up at 12:30 or 11:30 or something, and whole night he will compile, he will write, he will give commentary. So, and Prabhupada, he could give it for something. But Vyasadeva had to write everything he had to write. What a huge task would be. And why it has been done? These days people talk about social service. There cannot be any greater act of social service than done by Vyasadeva. Because the greatest weapon is knowledge. If there's no knowledge, there's nothing. And Vyasadeva tried to give that knowledge. So how should ideally you should feel after doing all that? There should be a sense of pride, there should be a sense of great satisfaction, happiness and whatnot. And although he did everything in the context of service to the Lord, let's see how did he experience or what did he feel. So his feelings have been described after he had done all this humongous task. How did he feel? Text number 26 is what we are supposed to begin today, right? Yeah. Wait a second, let me just arrange my table. And we are going to start from text number 26. Yeah. एवं प्रवत्तस्य सदा भूतानां श्रेयसी द्विजः सर्वात्मा केनापि यदा नातुष्यदृदयं ततः. O twice born Brahmanas, still his mind was not satisfied, although he engaged himself in working for the total welfare of all people. So this is Shutra Goswami speaking about Srila Vyasadeva. Despite doing all this, he is still not satisfied. The subject matter of satisfaction or lack of satisfaction is primarily discussed by Lord Shri Krishna in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, primarily in the last section. So as we know, in 5th chapter, verse number 22, Krishna says, Ye hi samsparsha jabhoga dukha yoniya evate adiyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Those who are intelligent beings, they do not find or look for pleasure in sense objects, knowing that it is temporary and it is fleeting. So I guess all of us have enough experience of life where we can at least understand this shloka, what Krishna says. If you buy anything, after a while, all that enthusiasm goes away. That object, whatever it could be, a new car, a new house, or maybe a smartphone or a laptop, whatever it is, it becomes stale and pale after a while. We begin to experience the suffering that it brings along with it. And the greatest suffering is maintenance cost, that everything brings it. I mean, that's what object as object is. So you think about anything in that relation, that's what it happens. So now, why would Vyasa feeling dissatisfied? He had not done anything like that. So one, you're dealing with sense objects, so getting suffering, not finding satisfaction makes sense. But in case of Srila Vyasadeva, he didn't do anything. He's gonna say further down the line, I followed my dharma, I was following regular principles, I was doing my tyaga, tapasya, I was doing my gayatri, I was doing everything. Why am I not happy? Why am I not satisfied? And this is a beautiful point here which is highlighted. So sometimes we talk about 4 levels of happiness: PQ, EQ, IQ, SQ. So here Vyasadeva is right now representing at the level of IQ. But somewhere the SQ has been missing for him. Many times people ask me, how do we understand IQ and SQ? This is the example. So all of you know, I'm not going to get into detail. That's a very fundamental point. PQ, EQ, and IQ. So greater than physical pleasure is emotional pleasure. And greater than emotional pleasure is intellectual pleasure. Generally, the example we quote for this is APJ Abdul Kalam. 17 साल की उम्र में लैब में घुसे, 71 साल की उम्र में निकले, और फिर उनको पता चला बाल सफेद हो गए, शादी तो हुई नहीं मेरी. And then he said, well, I never felt a need for it because from the age of 17 to the age of 71, I was so busy doing research, intellectual gratification, I didn't have the need for EQ or even a consideration for PQ. So far we get it straight. What is the IQ highest? That's where it becomes sometimes a bottleneck for people to understand. What could be more than that? Look, Vyasadeva. I mean, wouldn't it be an intellectual work to compile? It's a high-end intellectual work. Despite doing all that, he is still not satisfied. Let's a little bit going back onto the Bhagavad Gita, that was. So 22nd verse says, well, if you engage in sense gratification, you will become frustrated. Then Arjuna ponders and asks question, so my dear Lord, would there be any time when this desire or when our need for craving for the senses would subside? Is there an expiry date for the craving? There's a retirement age. There is a hearing expiry date. कितने समय तक सुन सकते हैं, पढ़ सकते हैं, हर एक का अपना कोटा होता है. So in the 5th chapter, verse number 23, Krishna says, well, when it comes for craving, there is no expiry date. It remains as long as you have a body. Unless one gets freed from the bodily conception of life, it will continue in your next life also. So now question comes, how do we deal with it? I'm talking at the level of sense objects right now. I'm going to build up the subject matter here. Right now we're talking intellectual. So how do we deal with it? Then Krishna says, I believe this is the 25th verse. I'm sorry, I closed my laptop. Can we pull out the verses? Otherwise, devotees can see the verses. If somebody can share the screen. Okay, anyways, I'll just continue. So there's a beautiful verse where Krishna uses now 25th verse or 26th verse. He says, Shodham. What you need to do? Hey Arjuna, you need to tolerate. So these cravings are never gonna end. What we need to do? We need to learn to tolerate. And therefore, what is the first instruction? Krishna, 23rd verse speaks of both the things. So, Shaknoti heva shodham prak sharira vimokshanat kama krodha udbhavam vegam sayukta sa sukhi naraha. Okay, so what was I saying here? So, for how long do I need to tolerate? Krishna says in 23rd verse, as long as you have the body. So, sorry, how long do I have to deal with this craving? As long you have this body. So what you need to do, Shaknoti heva yaha shodham. Shodham means tolerate. So when it comes to the function of cravings, we got to tolerate. Just like on Ekadashi, we tolerate, and then we get a little bit of practice. We become a little seasoned, and this is just my humble suggestion. It's all up to you what you wish to do it. You might be doing it, or maybe doing better than that. One thing that happens is Ekadashi sometimes becomes, we consume more on the day of Ekadashi, unlike other day, because today there is a variety, there is a difference. No dal, roti, sabji, chapati, and more oily item. So I don't know how it is really a fasting. So one thing that we can do, if we can't do Nijal Ekadashi for many, at least fast half a day. So we become practice with that. So here Krishna is saying, tolerate, that's the point. And the final thing in this particular chapter, and then we'll relate to what we are trying to speak here. So now question comes, tolerate? I mean, there has to be some compensation for it. Why should I tolerate? I know you're saying at the end of life you'll get something, but there has to be something. So then in 29th verse, which is famously known as peace formula, there Krishna is giving us the impetus, the purpose for tolerating. What is the purpose for tolerating? So idea here in this 29th verse, again coming back to the subject matter, for us to tolerate physical pleasures, emotional pleasures, or anything related to mundane, we need to bring about a transformation, change of perceptions. What is a perception often we carry? I am the controller, I am the proprietor, I am the enjoyer. So Krishna says in 5th chapter 29th verse, well, for you to be able to tolerate, you need to bring about a change in your perception, and that change has to be brought about 3 items. Bhoktaram yatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhida sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shanti mrachyati. Bhoktaram yagnatapasam, I am the enjoyer. Bhoktaram yagnata sarvaloka, I am the controller, proprietor, and I am the well-wisher. So we live our life in this world with the conception, I am the controller, I am the proprietor, I am the enjoyer, I am the well-wisher. We need to bring about the change in perception, and that will allow us or give us the strength to tolerate the sensual cravings. So now coming back to text number 26, Vyasdevji is dissatisfied. Now Vyasdevji had no problem with all of this thing. So why is Vyasdevji dissatisfied? Text number 27. Nati prasiddha dhardhya Saraswatya tate sucho vitarkayan vivaktastha idam chovacha dharmave. Thus a sage, being dissatisfied at heart, at once began to reflect, because he knew the essence of religion, and he said within himself. So being dissatisfied at heart, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hriddeshi Arjuna Tishtati. I reside in the heart of every living entity. Sarvasya Chaham Hiti Sandivishtu Mataha Smriti Jnanam Apohanam Cha. From me, Smriti Jnan Apohanam comes. Upadrashta Anumanta Cha Bharta Bhoktaha Maha Ishvara. I am that super soul. So here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in this context, right? So as it is mentioned by Srila Vyasadeva, there is a dissatisfaction in the heart. The dissatisfaction in the heart of Vyasadeva has been inspired by the Lord. In the similar manner, the doubts were inspired in the heart of Arjuna. And why? Because Krishna, through the means of Arjuna, wanted to re-establish the ancient science of yoga, which he reveals later on in the 4th chapter, verse number 2. You know what I'm telling to you, which has been told to Vivaswan, I'm telling to you because it received in Parampara, and the next one because you're my friend and you're non-envious. Therefore, I'm establishing the science of yoga, and the question was about Yuddha. Should I fight or not? And the science given here is yoga. And we have to understand Bhagavad Gita to understand the connection of both. Like that, similarly here, why is Srila Vyasadevji dissatisfied? Krishna had planted these feelings so that Srila Vyasadevji could be inspired to compose and compile Srimad Bhagavatam. Text number 20 and 29. Now Srila Vyasadevji is thinking, why am I dissatisfied? It's such a vital question. Such a vital question. I don't know what to say. Maybe I expressed some of those emotions and thoughts into the blog that I wrote recently. I'll just make 1 or 2 points about it here. How many of us, we all have been practicing bhakti for a while now, for several years maybe. Let's take a look at next word, then we'll talk about it. What he says. Text number 20 and 29, then we'll talk about the point that I'm making here. Dhrit Vartena Himaya Chandamsi Guravognaya Manita Nirvayalikena Grahitam Chanushasanam Bharata Vaipadeshena Hi Amnayathascha Pradarshitaha Drishyate Yatra Dharmahadi Sri Shudradhibherapi Yuta. So Vyasa is saying, I have done everything. Dhrit Vratena, with determination. Chandamsi Gurava, follow the instructions of Guru. Agnihi, Manita, Nirvayalikena, Grahitam, Chanushashanam, Shasan. I have followed on my discipline, everything. I have, under strict disciplinary vows, unpretentiously worshipped the Vedas, spiritual master, the altar of sacrifice. I have also abided by the rulings and have shown the import of disciplic succession through the explanation of the Mahabharata, by which even women, Shudras, and others can see the path of religion. Prabhupada writes in the Prabhupada, no one can understand the import of the Vedas without having undergone a strict disciplinary vow and disciplic succession. And Prabhupada closes the Prabhupada. In this age, the Mahabharata is more essential than even the original Vedas. So my question to all of you, how many of us have experienced dissatisfaction in our life despite on a daily basis practicing Krishna consciousness? अगर नहीं सोचा तो बात अलग है, नहीं हुआ है तो आप आत्मा नामस ऑलरेडी हो चुके हो, आपका कहना ही क्या. So there's no difference in our experience of dissatisfaction in trying to follow the vows and in Srila Vyasadevji experiencing dissatisfaction while he is also following the vows. And the similarity is same and the reason is also the same. The reason that we'll see here in case of Vyasadeva, he has spoken at length about Purushartha. I explained that repeatedly. However, when it comes to explaining the glories of the Lord, he did not do or give enough justice to it. So now you may say, what about us? We ain't a writer. Some of us not even a speaker. So, अपना क्या case है? Why are we experiencing dissatisfaction, or we experience sometimes dissatisfaction? The idea is, um, Vyasadeva ji, on the name of service, Narad Muni is going to really chastise Vyasadeva in the next chapter. On the name of doing good for masses, he has actually distracted the masses. It's not a service, he indeed ended up doing disservice, which displeased Krishna from that point of view. And because Krishna is displeased, therefore the mercy of Krishna has been withdrawn. And the mercy of Krishna has been withdrawn. Therefore, despite I following my vows, regulative principles, instructions of the Guru, reading scriptures, hearing scriptures, and whatnot, I'm still feeling dissatisfaction because I, in one sense, do not have the mercy or the shelter of the Lord. So, like this, when we experience in our life, we need to pause, like Srila Vyasadeva ji is doing. We need to pause, take a moment, and think about what have I done wrong, or where am I going wrong. And Srila Vyasadeva, even before Narada Muni coming, he realized his mistake. It's not that he had not realized. Similarly, we can realize. Only thing is, we are too busy to think about this matter. Life has got too many things to serve. So, if in case we can reflect upon it, we'll realize somewhere our relationship with the Lord have gone astray, and because of which we are not experiencing. Of course, in the Kanishta stage, when we are struggling with senses, it's a different thing. But those who have been practicing for years have become stable to some extent. Then dissatisfaction arises because of some loss of connection in our relationship with the Supreme Lord. So, text number 30. Why is Srila Vyasadeva, who have done so much, is experiencing this kind of dissatisfaction? Tatapi batamedhayo hi atma chaivatmana vibhu asampanna ivabhati brahma varchasya sattamaha. So he says, Tathapi vatame dhayyo, dhayyo means deha, body, hi atma chaivatmanaha vibhu, asampan eva bhati, sampan poon, asampan, something missing. I know, despite everything, why am I experiencing insufficiency, incompleteness? The word incompleteness sounds familiar. Where was it discussed? Incompleteness. Om Purnam Madaha Purnam Idam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnasya Purnam Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This is how Brahmanas do actually. This is one of the last verses they recite. If you ever get some prayer, they'll recite this. And they conclude like this: Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And you look at the verse, a puppet. Prabhupada talks about all feelings of incompleteness is because of our incomplete relationship, the complete whole. If you want to experience the complete, you have to have a complete relationship with the complete, otherwise you remain in the complete world, incomplete and complete and incomplete. And that puppet becomes so confusing. What's going on here? And then in the middle of the puppet, there's a beautiful line. All experiences of incompleteness is because of an incomplete relationship with the Lord. That's all. That's the main point. So, like that, asampanna eva bhati. I am feeling incomplete, though I myself fully equipped with everything required by the Vedas. Very beautiful purport. Although short, Prabhupada raises an ultimate question here. Srila Prabhupada writes, undoubtedly, Srila Vyasadeva was complete in all the details of Vedic achievements. Purification of the living being submerged in matter is made possible by the prescribed activities in the Vedas. So, this is the subject matter of Nishkam Karma Yoga. So, the idea of Nishkam Karma Yoga in chapter 5, verses 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 talks about how the purpose of yoga, the purpose of action is to purification. Alright. But the ultimate achievement is different. So, the goal of yoga is not purification. The goal of bhakti is not freedom from anarthas. The goal is different. Sometimes, as sadhakas, we get obsessed from getting freed from anarthas, and we get astray from the main purpose. Prabhupada is raising a question here. But the ultimate achievement is different. Unless that is attained, the living being, even though fully equipped, which means a sadhaka fully equipped with all the shastric knowledge and shlokas, cannot be situated in the transcendentally normal stage. Srila Vyasadeva appeared to have lost the clue and therefore felt dissatisfaction, which means the ultimate achievement is to reestablish one's relationship with the Lord. That has been missed. The goal of Vedas, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. Yes, Krishna says, second chapter, I believe this is verse number 45. The idea of Vedic knowledge is to introduce you to the subject matter of three modes of material nature, and is to take you beyond the three modes of material nature. But then Krishna himself says later on, that's not the goal. Man mana bhava madbhakto madayaji mam namaskuru. So that should not be forgotten. So I'm feeling incomplete, though I myself fully equipped with everything required by the Vedas. But Vyasadevji, Prabhupada is indicating, you're missing one thing. You did everything, but looks like you did not please Krishna by your action. Shama eva hi kevalam. Text number 31. Now Vyasadevji is sitting in meditation, thinking about what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And he identifies his defect. Kimva bhagavata dharma na prayena nirupitaha riya paramahamsanam taeva hi achyuta priyaha. Kimva bhagavata dharma na prayena nirupitaha. Oh, na prayena looks like Bhagavata Dharma. ऐसा तो नहीं, किंवा, that I did not describe Bhagavata Dharma, Priya Paramahamsanam, which is very dear to Paramahamsanam, Taeva Achyuta Priya, which is dear not only to Paramahamsanam, Taeva hi Achyuta Priya, which is also Priya to, which in other words, if you describe Bhagavad Dharma, it pleases whom? Paramahamsanam and the Lord. Because I have not done that, which means Lord is not pleased. Because Lord is not pleased, therefore I am experiencing dissatisfaction. Prabhupada writes in the purport, the dissatisfaction which was being felt by Srila Vyasadeva is expressed here in his own words. This was felt for the normal condition of the living being in the devotional service of the Lord. Unless one is fixed in the normal condition of service, neither the Lord nor the living being can become fully satisfied. This defect was felt by him when Narada Muni, his spiritual master, reached him. It is described as follows. So again, referring to 5th chapter, the central theme of the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is Jiva, Jagat and Jagdish. We call a triangle. So how does the evolution of consciousness happen? When somebody who is not learned in Vedic sciences, like what we're discussing about it, then that Jiva looks at the Jagat as an opportunity for exploitation. And he tries to do it, he gets frustrated, sometimes he gets success, sometimes he's failure, and it's a complete hue and cry. That Jiva, Brahmande, Bhagyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade by that particular, he gets mercy and he gets to learn Bhagavad Gita. And he understands that, well, Jagat is not independent, I am not independent, or Jagat cannot function independently without the permission of the Lord. Then Jiva adds Ishvara, Jagdish. And that Jiva now begins to pray to Jagdish. Kindly fulfill my desire to enjoy Jagat. These are the pious living entities, those who go to the temple. Have some faith the God exists, therefore they go, ring the bell, give some donation, do some aarti, because Bhagwan khush, to hum khush. Bhagwan dukhi, to hum bhi dukhi. इसलिए करोड़ों करोड़ों की संख्या में भी लोग कुंभ में ठंडे. मेरे लास्ट टाइम अयोध्या के एक्सपीरियंस का मैंने सोचा मेरा इस बार तो हिम्मत नहीं है जाने की. मैं अच्छा खासा बीमार हो गया था. The conditions are too austere there. We were literally in an open tent with almost 4 rajaiyan on top of us. तुमने रात तो गुजार ली है, अब सुबह तुम्हें नहाने तो जाना पड़ेगा. अब नहाने जाओगे तो खुले में नहाने जाओगे. नहाने भी क्या जाओगे, जैकेट लेके थोड़ा जाओगे. And you wear a gamcha, you go out in the morning to go and take a bath, it's all open. You can't have any cloth on top. You go there. तो मैं सोचा था मैं रात को मैं ओढ़ के सोया ही क्यों जब सुबह जाके इतना एक्सपोज होना था. And now you go there, somehow you manage to get some hot water. And the hot water से नहा भी लिए. After hot water, again you come and bear the chilly wind, cold wind. After 5 days, मेरी तो लंग की ऐसी तैसी हो गई थी. बस मतलब वहाँ पे आइस जमी गई थी. And then I had to move. So I was thinking, should I go to Kumbh Mela? Devotees are asking, come for a few days. Maharaj is also going. We have better arrangements. I said, I don't have that better faith on you. Last time also you told me we have better arrangements. I said, I'm not coming. Let Maharaj go. They have the VIP quarters. We are simple brahmachari. They'll put us in some pandal or something. America nahi jaane wale is baar. So the point I'm saying is, why crores of people gonna go? Some Shraddha is there. And then comes what is expected of us, where after being learned in the philosophy, then Jiva does not pray to Jagdish for enjoying Jagat. He says, my dear Lord, whatever you wish. If you want me to get something, okay. Or in other words, you can say, now in the second stage, he had some knowledge. In the third stage, he gets a realization that Jagat is totally dependent on Jagdish. And if Jagat is totally dependent on Jagdish, and Jagdish is the proprietor of everything, why am I behind Jagat? Let me ask for spiritual world. Then he begins to serve the Lord. Like that, this whole transitional consciousness happens here. So here, Vyasadevji is not in that situation. Vyasadevji knows, but he just did not glorify it enough. And Narada Muni Bajaye Veena. Amazing, huh? It's not that Vyasadevji was screaming in the jungle, bachao, bachao. Or he was sending some alert message on the WhatsApp. How did Narada Muni has a perfect timing? Right? How many incidents? Sati have done Sati. Shivji is in his dhyana. Narada Muni Bajaye Veena. He went to Kailash. And he was not even there where Sati committed Sati. And he went to Shambhu. Arey, Bhabhi ji kahan hai? Aap akele baithe ho? Where is Sati? And Lord Shiva said, Bhai, Narada, she has gone to her father's house. And Narada said, are you serious? Are you sure? Yes. Looks like you have not got the update. Let me give you sansani khabar. Aaj ki taza khabar. He was the one who went and told Lord Shiva. And then in the same canto you read further, Dhruva Maharaj had a fight with, not Dhruva had a fight, whatever, he was insulted, and with the Suniti encouraged, go to the forest. Dhruva entered the forest. Samne se, Narada Muni Vajaye Veena. He comes, and now here Vyasadevji is sitting. Now all this while, Narada didn't come, when for months and years, Vyasadevji might be compiling. But now he came. It's a pretty interesting thing, huh? So this is about transcendental communication. So I got a call. This has been happening for a while. I'm long due to go to temple for some important engagement. So I finally got a call. Arey, yahan pe kisi ka phone signal nahi chal raha hai. So the network issues would be there. So मैं कह रहा था हाँ प्रभु जी, I guess as a brahmacharis we need to move to the transcendental communication. we have to stop depending on this mobile network and whatnot. So what had happened? So Prabhupada in the 4th canto, when Narada Muni meets with Dhruva Maharaj, he explains how did Narada Muni got to know where is Dhruva, what Dhruva is going through. And Prabhupada says, when a disciple is sincere, then Paramatma sitting in the heart of a disciple, he communicates to the Paramatma sitting in the heart of a Guru. And then Guru, inspired by the Paramatma, comes looking for a disciple. That's what the verse says, na Brahmande Mamrita Kone Bhagyavan Jiva. Guru Krishna Pasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. You're wandering all over the creation, but by the mercy of the Lord you find Guru. That's the point, by the mercy. So this is different level of communication, and here Nadmani entered. Tasevam kilamaatmanam मन्यमानस्य खिद्यतः कृष्णस्य नारदो भयागाद् आश्रमं प्राग उदारतम्. As mentioned before, Narada reached the cottage of Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas on the banks of the Saraswati just as Vyasadeva was regretting his defects. Very important purport. What a beautiful line Prabhupada writes. The vacuum felt by Vyasadeva was not due to his lack of knowledge. Sometimes we think, knowledge, if we have more knowledge, we'll be more gratified. It doesn't happen. Who can be more knowledgeable than Vyasadeva? Bhagavad Dharma is purely devotional service of the Lord to which the monist has no access. The monist is not counted amongst the Paramhamsas. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of narrations of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, so it is the same essential problem that every soul in the material world faces. And what is that problem? Alienation, or loneliness, or emptiness. Naturally, all souls trapped in matter means absorbed in matter, thinking about matter, feel dissatisfied, lonely, and empty. Why? Because all of them are separated from Krishna. Which means activities performed in this state of consciousness, from shopping to intoxication, from humanitarianism to nationalism, are simply the conditioned soul's attempt to relieve the emptiness. But none of these activities go to the heart of the matter, and therefore none of them can negate the emptiness. So further Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, the only thing that can relieve the conditioned souls of their sense of alienation is the re-establishment of their constitutional loving relationship with Krishna. So the root cause, as this particular verse mentioned, of all our dissatisfaction at any level is because of not having that connection with Krishna. So you remember those negative X's, zero X's, positive X's? Negative X's, no happiness, is a materialistic person. 0, 0 is monist. And the positive X's, increasing X's, is a devotee of the Lord. Like that. So although, very important point, Prabhupada writes in purport, although Vyasadeva was an empowered divinity, he still felt dissatisfaction, because in none of his works were the transcendental activities of the Lord properly explained. The inspiration was infused by Sri Krishna directly in the heart of Srila Vyasadeva. And thus he felt the vacuum as explained above. So I was saying in the beginning, so Lord has inspired Srila Vyasadeva, as Lord inspired Arjuna to get confused. It is definitely expressed herewith that without the transcendental loving service of the Lord, everything is void. But in the transcendental service of the Lord, everything is tangible, without any separate attempt at furtive work or empiric philosophical speculation. So, bhakti is the means, bhakti is the end. There is nothing except for bhakti. We be in the material world, be in the spiritual world, what we are supposed to do? Practice bhakti. However, yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam. In other words, however, to be able to practice bhakti, we need to be careful with our engagements, so that we're not sure if everything is pleasing, but at least whatever we're doing, it is aiding in a purification of our consciousness. And therefore, there are whole prescriptions are given, For a brahmachari, whatever he does, let's say he gets any result also, but that's not his. It belongs to Guru. For example, you may be training, cultivating somebody and training in Krishna consciousness, but then you introduces all those students of yours who have you've been training all this while for years to Guru, and then Guru Dev Ji gives Diksha. You cannot claim these are my students because I trained. To whom it belongs to? So special master. Now, in terms of congregation, that level of surrender at time may not be possible or expected. So then they have certain conditions where whatever work you do, at least dedicate some part of result in the service of the Lord. So these things needs to be practiced. With that, as we purify ourselves, purify our consciousness, to that degree, a devotee becomes stable in his spiritual life. Like that. So last verse of this chapter, text number 33. What happened next? Tam abhignaya sahasa pratyuthayagatam munihi pujayamasa vidhivan naradam sura pujitam. So Naradam Sura Pujitam. So Narada have entered. At the auspicious arrival of Sri Narada, Sri Vyasadeva got up respectfully and worshipped him, giving him veneration equal to that given to Brahmaji, the Creator. This ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the first canto, fourth chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Appearance of Sri Narada. Chapter number 5. Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. So now Narad Muni have entered. Narad Muni is in front of Srila Vyasadeva. What happened between Narada and Vyasadeva is described. So this chapter has around 40 verses. If you wish, you can write down the segment of flows of verses. This has around 40 verses. The first 7 verses is about Narad Muni's inquiries to Vyasadeva. Dude, why you look so unhappy? You should be happy and smiling. No, I'm not asking to you. So those of you who are dozing off, they woke up. To whom am I speaking? Like Narada Muni said, dude. So I thought I'll just wake you up who are going into slumber. So Narad Muni inquired Vyasadeva the cause of his despondency. From verse 8 to text number 22, Narad Muni speaks and establishes the importance of speaking Krishna's pastimes. Text number 23 to 31, Narad Muni narrates his past life. Text number 23 to 31. Text number 1 to 7, Narada inquires to Vyasa. Text number 8 to 22, Narada speaks to Vyasa. Text number 23 to 31, Narada reveals or speaks his past life. Text number 31 to 40, Narada Muni advises Vyasa. This is one of the fantastic segment of Srimad Bhagavatam with some very, very phenomenal words of wisdom spoken by Narad Muni. So, text number 1. All right. Mother Jatila, you have your hand up. You want to say something? Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Vyasadeva is the incarnation of Lord himself, right? Then
Yes.
how he is not satisfied?
I mean, Arjuna and Krishna are, Arjuna is the eternal companion of the Lord, Narnarayan Rishi. So my question to you is then, how Arjuna having doubts? Looks like my question I put Mother Jatila Radhika into doubt. She's thinking, I never thought about like this also. So, a point is, as I said, I repeated twice, the doubts of Arjuna were inspired by Krishna so that Krishna can speak Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, Vyasadev's despondency was also inspired by Krishna. We read just Prabhupada said so. So that Srila Vyasadeva can be inspired to write Srimad Bhagavatam. Is that okay? And yet, at a human level, there are important lessons for us. And the lesson from that, what do we understand from Srila Vyasadev's despondency, restlessness? Is his disconnection from the Lord. He did so much, but he in fact could not really please Krishna. Similarly, as a sadhaka, when we are doing everything right, yet at times we find a sense of emptiness or dissatisfaction. We got to pause and reflect: where did I go wrong in my relationship with the Lord? That's the lesson for us. Okay. All right. Chapter number 5, Narada instruction. Text number 1. Sutvacha atatam sukhamasina. O sage, sit properly and comfortably. Upasinam brahachavaha devarshi praha viparashim Veenapani samayanniva. Veenapani, holding a veena, samayan ivaha, with a mild smile on his face. And smilingly he looked at Vyasa. Khush nahi ho? So there is a little sarcasm in his smile. That's how it is almost similar to when Arjuna confided to Krishna. The very follow was, in Krishna had a smile. अब आया ऊट पहाड़ के नीचे, बड़ा चतुर बन रहा था पहले अध्याय में. So like that. Sutta Goswami said, thus the sage amongst the gods, Narada, comfortably seated and apparently smiling addressed the rishi amongst the Brahmanas, Vyasadeva. Prabhupada writes in the purport, Narada was smiling because he well knew the great sage Ved Vyas and the cause of his disappointment. As he will explain gradually, Vyasadeva's disappointment was due to insufficiency in presenting signs of devotional service. So very interesting. Narad Muni knew why Vyasa is disappointed. But then why would Narad Muni ask a question? Why Vyasadev ji, why are you disappointed? Just give the answer, na. Cut it short. वैसे भी time नहीं है जीवन में. Why extend the conversation? What do you think? If you already know what's the problem, then why ask that fellow what is his problem? Okay, Gaudana Prabhu and Prabhu going through. How would they hear, online devotees?
Then if you give direct instruction, then the other person will not be receptive to hear your instructions क्योंकि उसने तो अपने मन की बात कही नहीं और
Okay, so even if you're pointing out correctly, Gaudana Prabhu is saying, yet that person will not be in a condition to hear, even if you have done a right diagnosis. But इसने तो हमारी सुनी नहीं पहले. Okay, very nice. Anyone else? Any other thoughts?
Similar thoughts.
Up of going through, yes?
Similar thing, bro. Unless it is expressed by a disciple, so the guru will not.
Okay, same thing. Anyone online? What do you think? I guess this is an everyday affair. Some unban to hi jati hai relationship mein. So how do you deal with it? What do you think about it? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I don't know. It's a Prabhu or
Hare
Mother.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
It
yes.
is Narada trying to enroll Vyasa into the conversation.
Okay, Narada is trying to do that. Okay. Anything else?
While enrolling, always it has to be a question to make the other person come out from inside out,
Yes.
than behaving as if you know everything and coming to a judgment or conclusion.
Okay, very nice. The point is, as Gaudana Prabhu was also saying, hey, you have not listened me first. First you got to listen to me before you can give me a prescription. So therefore Narada wanted Vyasadeva ji to confess what was his issue. Similarly, was Krishna not aware what's happening with Arjuna? How much patience Krishna would have to exercise? Have you ever thought like this? I'm really impatient in this matter. I'm like, cut it short, come to the point. If in case you have spoken to me on managerial issue, you have seen me. मेरा ज़्यादा मत खींचो, जल्दी बोलो क्या point है. ब्रह्मचारी has so much experience. बोले प्रभु जी आप बोलने ही नहीं देते, cut short कर देते हो. मैं कहा मुझे पता है तुम्हें क्या बोला है, जल्दी point पे आओ. ये कहानी मत बनाओ. What did Arjuna do in the first chapter? मैं नहीं लड़ूंगा. मुझे भय लग रहा है पाप का. मैं नहीं लड़ूंगा. With whom would I enjoy if my relatives dies? 5 reasons he gave. I wouldn't have patience for even one reason, trust me. You know, to hear of even one reason. But it's amazing how Krishna patiently heard, did not say anything. And then finally he allowed. And then when Arjuna was totally exhausted, then he said, yeah, you know what, Krishna? I confess, I don't know. Now you guide me. And then Krishna spoke and Arjuna heard. So we can pray to the Lordship to give us patience like he exercised in front of Arjuna. It's the need of the hour. So like that Narad is kind of... So that's the greatness of these personalities. Having so much patience to hear out fully the problem of their disciple. All right. Narada Vacha Parashraya Mahabhaga Bhavataha Kacchidatmanaha Pratitushyati Sharira Atma Manasa Eva Paritushyati. Tushyati, satisfaction. He's saying Paritushyati Sharira Atma Manasa Eva. So, are you satisfied? Now bringing the soul on the level of the mind and the body. O son of Parashar Muni. And also connecting him to his father. You are a son of a great man. And what have you done? Addressing Vyasa, the son of Parashar, Narada said, are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization? So you would have seen this often in this kind of readings. Krishna would do that to Arjuna. O son of Kunti, O son of Bharata, helping him connect. Please for a second, understand who you belong to, your great lineage. And then in the next few lines, give a strike. Text number 3. Now when it says, how can you be despondent? Jigyasitam susampannam apite mahad adbhutam kritavan bharatam yastvam sarvartha paribramhitam susampannam Jnasitam susampannam, which means you are well learned. Vyasa, there is nobody more learned than you. Apite mahad adbhutam. Kritavan bharatam yastvam. Bharatam refers to Bharataha, which is Mahabharat. Kritavan yastvam, you, sarvartha, for all, paribramhitam. And you have explained, you are the one who in fact wrote Mahabharat, which is filled with thrilling stories, and through those storytelling, he literally conveyed the message of Vedas. You are the great author of Mahabharata. So here Narad Muni is identifying Vyasa as author of Mahabharata. You're the author of great Mahabharata. How can you be dissatisfied? Why? Because Mahabharata is filled with so many thrilling stories. I mean, anyone ever tried reading Mahabharata? Read it. Even that big one, na? If you have any desire to watch a movie, it will at once become pale. It's such a fantastic journey. There is a thrill, there is romance, there is suspense, there is action, there is adventure, there is humor. You name any rasa. And it is just such an intertwining of story into story into story. You like politics, diplomacy, whatnot. Everything is there. I became addicted during COVID time. मैंने तो पढ़ के सुबह शाम में बैठ के पढ़ता था करके. It's amazing. And then I realized, why am I relishing it so much? I like story more than philosophy. What to do, Kali Yuga product afterwards. But nonetheless, Prabhupada said, in this age, Mahabharata. Anyways, I'm just joking. Okay? So do read it if you haven't read it. The best version for you to read is Krishna Dharma Prabhu's book. You can read that condensed version. If any one of you want to get into Sanskrit, then there is Ganguly's, the only author so far, early 19th century, early 20th century, who had compiled the whole verses into English. But that's too voluminous. So I'm not sure even the printed copy is available. Maybe at Gita Press may have it. Otherwise, the soft copy is there. Somebody needs it, I can provide. Like that. Yeah, so you've done that. So what I'm trying to say here is Mahabharata is such a thing. You as a reader, while reading, you will become addicted to it. The one who have composed it, why can you be sad? That's how Narad is raising a question. Text number 4. Jigyasitam aditam cha brahma yatat sanatanam tatapi sochasi atmanam akratat eva prabhu. You have fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahman as well as the knowledge derived therefrom. Vedanta Sutra. Why should you be despondent in spite of all this, thinking that you're undone, my dear Prabhu? Why should you lament? So Prabhupada writes at the end of the purport, so there cannot be any doubt about the transcendental scholarship of Vyasadeva. Then why should he lament? What is missing? And of course, as we know, he did everything, but somehow Krishna was not pleased because he had not done two things. He has not regularly and repeatedly spoken Krishna Katha. In our case, we are not regularly and repeatedly hearing Krishna Katha. So any take-home message you want to take from this discussion right now for us is, we got to do two things. Regular and repeated Krishna Katha. And therefore Prabhupada gave us Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, every morning hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then you start from first shloka, finish 18,000 shlokas, 365, 18,000 shlokas will take how long? Of course, you don't read each shloka. Sometimes you couple up many shlokas also like that. Whatever number of years, I never thought about it. Number of years, and then somebody asked Prabhupada, so what do we do after we finish Bhagavatam? Start from text number 1 again, which means repeatedly. So that's very important. Just like some of us have done Bhakti Shastri. Not that because I've done Bhakti Shastri, I know of it. If opportunity arises in the future, if you have the recordings, hear it. If not, hear from some other devotee. It's just about when you hear from different devotees, then you get different nuances about the subject matter. So do that. Even hearing from the same devotee, then you may understand something else. Because at one time you don't grasp the whole subject. So that's the point here. Repeated and regular hearing. So text number 5, now Srila Vyasadeva will speak about why is he despondent, and we'll take that after a break.